I recently spoke with a retiree who shared a frustrating experience. He'd always heard that bonds were useful for a retirement portfolio, so he put some of his money into a bond mutual fund. What he didn't realize is the maturity length on that fund didn't align with how soon he needed that money. When interest rates went up, the value of his fund dropped 15%. So when he went to take the money out, he had to realize a loss. He didn't understand how that could happen. In other words, he started feeling like a Gen Zer trying to drive a stick shift, frustrated and confused. In this video, I'm going to help you avoid that feeling and that mistake. I'll walk you through 3 steps to create a retirement paycheck from your portfolio. First, you'll learn an income strategy called the 3-bucket approach. Second, how to size those buckets for your situation. And third, how to build them, including some real-world investments as an example. So let's dive into what you need to know and how you can apply it in your portfolio. Step 1, the 3-bucket approach. This is a retirement income strategy that's built on the idea that different investments are most useful at different time horizons. Stocks can be a great long-term investment, but it's almost a coin flip's chance as to whether they're up or down tomorrow. Bonds are usually stable, but they're not designed to grow your money at the fastest rate. Using 3 buckets for different time horizons helps us get all the available benefits while avoiding their respective downsides. So let's break down each bucket and how it's used. First is the short-term bucket. The purpose of this one is to fund your portfolio withdrawals for that first year of retirement, or if you're already retired, the next 1 year. It should hold very stable assets like cash or cash equivalents. And as you spend through this money over the course of a year, it'll get refilled from money in the medium-term bucket. So let's talk about that one now. The medium-term bucket covers your expenses starting 2 years into retirement and going out the following 4 years. Investments here should become available as you need them, creating a steady flow of cash for your expenses. And as you spend through the money here, it'll get refilled from your long-term bucket. Investments here should still be stable, but you have more room for price fluctuation since you have more time on your side. I've found the most useful investments here to be corporate bonds, which, if you're not familiar, are simply loans to a company with a promise to pay interest and receive your principal back at a specific time called maturity. Finally, the third is your long-term bucket. This covers expenses starting 5 years out and beyond. This one holds long-term investments like stocks, which you don't need access to for at least 5 years. This one's designed to provide long-term growth, helping maintain the value of your portfolio and help protect against inflation. Over time, as investments here grow in value, a portion of the gains can be moved into the medium-term bucket to replenish it. So we end up with this waterfall effect where the long-term bucket refills the medium-term, which then refills the short-term. Now, because the long-term bucket is the primary engine for your future returns, it's important to provide protection for it. For that reason, I call the short and medium-term buckets my moat, the way a moat surrounds a castle to protect it. So now let's talk about how to size up your moat in step 2. Our goal here is to understand how much money you need to pull out of your portfolio each year. To do that, we first need to know how much money you're going to spend in your first 5 years of retirement. So we can keep this simple and start by looking at your combined expenses. So just look for yourself. How much money you're going to spend in your first year of retirement? Be conservative. For example, let's just say that it's $100,000. Next, we'll subtract from that number any income sources from outside the portfolio that can help fund those expenses. Maybe it's Social Security, maybe it's rental income, or otherwise. But for our example, let's say that outside income amount is $60,000 per year. Now, the difference between the money we need and the income we have needs to come from the portfolio. So in our example, that difference would be $100,000 minus $60,000 for a total of $40,000 per year. Once you have that estimate for next year, just repeat the same steps for the following 4 years. And before this begins to feel daunting, know that for most households, expenses tend to stay relatively similar from year to year. So one shortcut is just to multiply by 5 to cover for 5 years. In our example, That'd be $200,000. And with that said, we're almost done with step 2. We just need to add any one-off expenses that are coming up in the next 5 years. Maybe it's an air conditioner or it's a big retirement celebration, whatever makes sense for you. Again, be conservative here. It's better to be roughly right than precisely wrong. For our example, let's say our first year of retirement is going to have an extra $50,000 of expenses. That makes our total moat size the $200,000 plus $50,000 or $250,000 total. And that's it. As you apply your own numbers, you'll now know how large your portfolio moat needs to be. Now, before we move to step 3, you might ask, why are we using 5 years? Well, in 2008, when the financial system was nearly frozen, stocks dropped by over 50%, and they took 4 years to fully recover. So using 5 years gives you a healthy buffer of time, allowing your stocks to recover in price and helping you avoid a situation where you're having to sell anything at a loss. That said, the moat is designed to be flexible, so you can tailor it to fit your comfort level, your risk tolerance, your situation. So whether it's 5 years or 10 years, the goal is to create a steady distributions that align with your vision for retirement. Okay, now that we've sized up our moat, it's time to move to step 3 and build each one. Year 1 is that short-term bucket. We're looking at how much we expect to withdraw next year, and then keeping that amount in an investment that's stable in price. In our example, we said this first year we need $40,000 for normal expenses and an extra $50,000 for other things, a total of $90,000. So we'll keep that $90,000 in cash equivalents. You could use a high-yield savings account, or if you have a brokerage account, an even better option could be treasury bills. More on that in a future video. Next, we're building year 2 through year 5, that medium-term bucket. Now, having helped hundreds of retirees as a fiduciary advisor, I've found some investments work better than others for this. The ones I like best and the investments that could have prevented the mistake I talked about at the beginning are target date bond funds. A target date bond fund is a basket of bonds where you can expect to receive interest every month and then all your principal back as cash at a specific time, again called maturity. Now, you don't have to use target date bond funds here. If you use something else, just make sure it's suited for the same relevant time horizon and your situation. Okay, we're keeping it simple here. Starting looking at year 2 and how much you need to withdraw from the portfolio that year. With that in mind, we're going to buy a target date bond fund of that same amount that matures in 1 year. For our example, we need $40,000, so we can buy a target date bond fund worth $40,000 that matures in 1 year. That gives us the cash we need to refill the short-term bucket as it becomes depleted. From there, we can simply repeat the same steps for years 3, 4, and 5. That's the moat around your castle. Conceptually, you can really keep it that simple. And to help you get the best results possible, here are 3 helpful factors I want you to keep in mind when building your moat. First, consider sticking to high-quality bonds, also called investment grade. Second, diversify. Use funds that have hundreds of holdings inside so that even if there's trouble in the future and some bonds inside the fund go bad, you can still come out ahead and get your intended result. 3, keep your fees low. The target date bond funds that I'm describing can be held for a fee of just 0.1% per year. That's 0.1%. With that said, the last step in building this 3-bucket approach is our long-term bucket. This can hold all of your remaining portfolio value, frankly, regardless of age. If you want an easy guide for how to consider investing that money, check out this video where I share the stock investment philosophy I found works best for retirees, along with real-world investment examples. And speaking of that, to make implementing this bond moat as easy as possible for you, let's briefly look at a real-world investment example for your moat. And before I do, let me share a quick disclaimer. This entire video is meant to be strictly educational. It's not designed as investment advice. If you're watching this, we've likely not met, and so none of this is being tailored to your situation. So please Do your own due diligence before investing, and remember that all investments carry risk, including the risk of loss of principal. Also, I have no relation to any of the investments I'm about to mention. I get no benefit of any kind if you use them. My goal of these videos is simply to share all the value I have. With that said, an investment manager called Invesco has a family of funds called bullet shares, which are the same kind of target date bond funds I mentioned before. They have an investment grade bond fund family that can meet our same three criteria. They're high quality, they're diversified, and they're low cost. Again, 0.1% per year. They can also be structured around your withdrawal needs. You'll notice on their page, you can see each fund has a listed maturity year. So if we're looking at 2025, this fund will mature in December of 2025. Let's say, for example, your short-term bucket will cover you for 2025, and you need something to cover your needs for 2026. Well, you can buy a bond fund that's maturing in December of 2025, and those proceeds will be available to refill your short-term bucket for 2026. Here's a quick bonus. If you're a high earner nearing or inside the top income tax bracket, there are also tax-free municipal bonds available that may be more beneficial for your situation. Now, one question I'm often asked is, hey, if I buy these, am I locked in? The answer is no, you're not locked in. You can buy them today and sell them tomorrow. There's no penalty. Only banks and insurance companies get away with that kind of BS. That said, if you do sell early, the price you receive may be lower or higher than you originally paid for them. The bottom line is, these investments are designed to be held to maturity. And if you do hold them and all goes well, and as expected, you can expect to receive this annual interest rate called yield to maturity. By the way, Invesco is not the only company that offers target date bond funds. BlackRock also has a fund family called I-bonds as well. Okay, friends, I hope this video helps you build a retirement paycheck just as reliable as your working paycheck. If you found it helpful, please share it with someone that might benefit as well. And before you go, please post your retirement-related questions down in the comments section, and I'll answer some of them in our upcoming podcast. As always, remember to dream big. Know that you can have the retirement you want if you plan for it. And lastly, I'm Jonathan Bird. I'm the founder of Farnham Financial. If you're nearing retirement or in it and you want to learn how we can help you, please visit us at farnhamfinancial.com. Thanks.